Welcome back to the Chat Cave here on McGTV. That's youtube.com/MikeMcGTV. And I am your host, Mike McG, along with co-host
Max Andrews. How's it going?
It's going all right. Sorry, I've got my phone running quick here. It's snafu.
Yep. Hey man, that's how it is. Technical difficulties plague us all.
Hey, we're not pros. We just do what we can and get by. But anyways, here we are. It's back on the Batman podcast that we love to kind of reconvene and discuss all things Dark Knight. And we actually are now Mark Bernardin approved.
Oh yeah.
In that Mark Bernardin, I shot a couple of links out there and mentioned Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin being the inspiration for this podcast with their Fat Man on Batman podcast, which I wholeheartedly recommend you check out. He liked our tweet, so I interpret that as being Mark Bernardin approved.
Yep, dude, that's legitimized. We got the stamp of approval.
Yep.
Yeah, that's you can't get any higher praise than that, you know?
Yeah, we're the other podcast featuring a guy from Jersey and a black guy talking about Batman. So hopefully that gets us some kudos, some good points, and good standing with them. Who knows? Maybe one day they might happen upon a podcast and listen. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully. And welcome if they do.
Yeah, big fans here. Snoochie boochies. Anyways.
Yes.
Today, well, first off, the past couple of days, it's been San Diego Comic-Con time. And, I mean, it's a big deal for a lot of big franchises out there, and a lot of studios have a big presence at the convention. But especially with regards to Warner Brothers properties in DC, there was a pretty good turnout with regards to the movies and some other venues, and especially for the Bat. Did you hear about any particular things coming out of Comic-Con this week, Max?
I actually, I don't know. I'm in this blackout phase of my life where I yearn for the days of the '90s when like you never heard nothing about nothing. So I kind of wait until I'm podcasting and people are like, "Oh, this happened." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll probably check that out."
Yeah, I know.
So no, I haven't heard anything. I've been kind of blind, deaf, and under a rock.
Yeah, it's very hard to kind of stay out of the hype machine when it's in all of our social media these days, and in all of our news feeds, and every little aspect of our media that we don't even look for it, but it somehow finds a way to find us.
Yeah, I mean it's it's just constantly all this stuff, and while I love it, I also you kind of like that period where you miss something, and you're like, man, I just can't wait for that to come out, but like you don't need you just like wait on it to come out, and then it comes out and you watch it or whatever. It's awesome, and I think those times are better, man. I don't like too much of the just like, because now like everyone's got their own Twitter, and the movie's got its own Twitter, and they're all on Instagram, and it's all these then you got the paparazzi people snapping all the photos they're not supposed to be taken, and then just constantly getting all the stuff.
Yeah, you basically witnessed the whole filming of Suicide Squad in Toronto, right, Max?
Oh yeah, dude. I'm pretty sure I have a director, like executive producer or something, credit on there, because I mean, for as much as I was there. So, yeah, I mean, but no, yeah, Comic-Con's definitely going down right now. What's up? What's the good Batman word coming out of there?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. First off, again, I'm gonna have to tap into my other favorite franchise, the Turtles. I guess Batman meeting the Ninja Turtles was such a successful thing for both companies that they're doing it again, but this time with the Nickelodeon animated Turtles and Batman the Animated Series Batman in their own comic book crossover.
Whoa.
So it's going to be Bruce Timm style Batman meets this new interpretation of the Turtles on Nick, which I've seen, I follow the show when it doesn't take long hiatuses, and it's actually a pretty decent show. It blends the comedy, action, and drama very well, and a lot of, like the current Turtles comic series, blends a lot of elements from previous incarnations into a very delicious pot. So yeah, that's going to be the new thing, I guess, at some point. Animated series Batman travels to New York City, I believe, to catch a villain and meets up with this latest version of the cartoon Turtles.
All right. I'm so like they've always existed in the same universe, or you think that like it's going to be another this Krang port?
I don't know. I don't think it has anything to do with the previous dimension hopping thing that I explained to you in our a couple of podcasts ago. But it might be just one of those things like a couple of years ago when Batman met Spider-Man. They set up that they've always been in the same universe. They just don't acknowledge each other for reasons.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we'll see how that goes. I'm down. I really like this last one. I finally did read the final book of the Batman and Turtles team up, and yeah, I enjoyed that whole thing from beginning to end. I'm gonna get that trade when it comes out, or if it's not already out.
Yeah, it should be arriving soon. Hopefully, they're pretty quick on releasing trades. The rotation's pretty quick.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. That was a solid read. And it was a lot of fun. So yeah, maybe hopefully Batman the Animated Series is my Batman. And so if they're bringing it back, I'm down. I'm down in any incarnation I can get it.
Yeah, but who cares about comic news anymore at Comic-Con? It's all about the cartoons and movies now.
Whatever. And that's some badass comic book news, though. I mean, that's not heavy.
I am not disagreeing with you on that front, but I'm just saying, I've got an arch sarcastic tone going on here where, clearly the Comic-Con's not about comics. It's about, say, Batman, Kevin Conroy voicing Batman again for Justice League Action, the new Justice League cartoon that's going to be debuting soon. And they showed, I guess, a trailer, and I saw the trailer I think a day or so ago. It looks all right. It doesn't look like it's Teen Titans Go type of childish humor. It does look like it's a little bit lighter, but along the lines of something like Brave and the Bold.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Brave and the Bold. That was one with Diedrich Bader, right?
Yeah, he was, and he's going to be back in this one, but I forget as who.
Oh, goodness. If they have him as Batman, that's totally awesome.
It's Kevin Conroy as Batman, Mark Hamill as Joker. I can't remember who's playing Superman or Wonder Woman, but Diedrich Bader's in the mix as somebody.
Diedrich Bader is just a lovely voice talent, and it'll be good. I really dug Brave and the Bold. I thought it was good. And then I'm glad to see he's back. I'm glad they're throwing him some work. That's great.
Yeah. So you got that coming soon to your screen somewhere. There was they premiered The Killing Joke for an audience, and that we'll talk about it probably at some point on this podcast or when we get to see it. I'm actually going to go see it Monday night at the Fathom event, and
I'm definitely going to try to be there as well.
And maybe you'll hear our thoughts for it when we're both at Wizard World, perhaps next weekend. But more on that later. But The Killing Joke, the premiere, I guess, went off without a hitch, and then they got into a very, very tense Q&A regarding certain things they did in the movie, I guess, and regarding something with Batgirl that's not already that thing with Batgirl that happens in The Killing Joke. It's something they added in with Batgirl.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to get into too much because I'm going to see it in like a day or two, and I want to judge for myself, and I want to keep you as fresh-minded as possible. But just know there's some controversy already, Max.
Great.
We get out of
controversy.
We get out of the Ghostbusters controversy and dive right into some Batman Killing Joke stuff.
I mean, the Ghostbusters controversy. Give me a break, man. Like, I really wish people would quit just freaking out and being jerks. Like,
yeah,
that's it. Just like quit being jerks.
Well, from what I read in this article, it was kind of on both sides. Like the person who was pursuing a line of questioning was a critic who was very caught up in the emotions of his response to the film and was kind of being a little jerky. But then Brian Azzarello, the script writer, who Brian Azzarello is known to be kind of contentious at times, especially when it comes to defending his work.
And he's also a very, like, I don't want to say risque or whatever. He's very edgy is his material.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
he
kind of fired back in a pretty vicious way. And then there's poor Bruce Timm going, it's a complicated answer. Like, he's the one I felt bad for in all this, because I'm like, poor Bruce Timm. He's just trying his darndest.
You know, he's just like, can't we all just love Batman and be happy?
So already, kind of beset with some controversy with that, but still, I'm gonna go check it out. Gonna go see if it's a faithful adaptation or what changes, and is it for the best that it changes, and what doesn't. But then again, I like what you were saying, Max, about jerks, because these are fictional characters, and I always think of the Ben Affleck fictional characters. And funny you should mention that, Michael. I'm talking to myself. Because, segue, we got some brand spanking new, first off, Wonder Woman trailer, but then Batman and the Justice League trailer, or footage cut together to make kind of a trailer. It's basically Bruce Wayne is Nick Fury going around the world to recruit everybody. And I recommend you go check it out for yourself. As a guy who wasn't really sold on either version of Batman v Superman, just a couple of these scenes where he's trying to mouth off to Arthur Curry, or the Flash is geeking out that he's meeting Batman. A couple of these scenes actually make up for it a little bit with, character interaction that works.
There's like things happening, and
yeah, things that make sense that happen,
and people doing things that they would, like It's like, hey, I got this guy doing something that he might actually do. That's
Great. It's kind of cool actually, because they're brief glimpses, of course. Cyborg looks pretty good. The Flash costume honestly looks okay. Aquaman stands in front of a tidal wave. Batman or Bruce makes a talks to fish joke at him at the end. That's kind of cool. But he does it in this very dry Bruce Wayne demeanor that Ben Affleck puts on now.
I think that's good. I think that if you allow Aquaman and the Flash to kind of be doing all the jokes, and you have a more stoic like Batman as the straight man to them, I think that's gonna work really well if they want to put comedic beats in there. Because like I don't know, like when Batman starts to get silly, then he stops kind of being Batman. It's like, okay, now where's Adam West? It's like,
yeah, I totally agree. Like he's very much playing, especially with Barry. The interaction in the footage that he has with Barry is just Bruce Wayne and Barry meeting. Bruce Wayne kind of reveals he's Batman to him in a pretty cool way, and the effects work, even though it's very minimal right now due to they're still shooting. It still looks pretty cool. Not what we're used to probably from something like, say, The Flash, but who knows? They might have him doing a lot of cool super speed stuff. But Barry is very kind of geeky, and not overly geeky, but he's a nerd, you can tell, and kind of wanting acceptance. But it feels like an actually fully developed character, even in just this 30-second scene. And I thought that was cool. But he's definitely playing. Bruce is definitely playing straight man to Barry. But then when he has the Arthur Curry thing, he's still very stern-looking, tough as nails Bruce. But he's like, Arthur Curry, I hear you talk to fish. And then he gives a little smirk, like that smirk he gave Clark Kent when Clark was trying to tell him, like, Batman's bad for everybody.
Yeah. It's like, I think we have to disagree on that one.
Not that I have a personal stake in it or anything. I respectfully disagree with you, Mr. Kent. It honestly, watching it made me kind of feel like, dude, just leave Superman dead. I like what they're doing with this team so far. Leave that mopey ass in the ground.
Did you ever read the comic books, the Batman and the Outsiders, when he was recruiting the Outsiders?
No, I never got into those.
I thought it was really cool because it was just always like these crazy Batman team ups. It was sort of like Brave and the Bold, where it's just Batman and a random team up. But he's recruiting for this, like stealth, like the Batman squad, pretty much.
That was like Katana and Black Lightning, and was it Metamorpho was in it
Metamorpho too? And Geo something or other.
Geoforce?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah.
Freaking what's her name? The chick who can like summon animals.
Oh, Vixen.
Yes.
Or she summons the powers of animals, right?
Right. Yes, and her. So like, yeah, they go on. But like, I didn't even like get into it when they actually made The Outsiders. I didn't like that. I just liked it when Batman was doing the recruiting because there's Batman in everything.
hmm And even like going back to stuff in like I think the '80s when he was on Justice League International, like I just know he and Guy Gardner would get into it all the time. Like Guy Gardner would get in his face, and Batman would just punch him, and that'd be the end of that. Like that's my kind of Batman. Put that Batman in Justice League,
For
definitely.
real.
Like, no nonsense, takes no shit from nobody, but every once in a while he has a good quip or line that isn't cheesy. But all this great Bat stuff coming to us from both movies, television, comic books, Turtles, all this wonderful stuff. And can you imagine, Max? Can you even fathom that there was a time when all these big wigs at Warner Brothers and DC or whoever were thinking, no, we don't need multiple Batmen.
What? Never.
You're shocked. It's in the title card. I'm surprised you're so shocked. Yeah.
Blasphemy.
So,
Heretics.
in response to all this uber celebration of the Bat and uber headlines from the Bat this week, or these past couple of weeks probably, to focus on a little thing a couple of us fans might or might not be familiar with, known as the Bat Embargo. Now, there's kind of a very expansive history of Bat embargoes here and there, but not just Batman. There was oftentimes been things regarding Wonder Woman and her mythology being kind of excluded from certain products, or Aquaman at times. But Batman seems to have quite a big history of this. Were you ever familiar with the Bat embargo, Max?
I didn't realize it was a thing, but now that I know, it makes, I see what they did, and I hate them for it.
Mm-hmm. It's that actually, I mean, in some way, shape, or form, I'm not saying it's the exact same like decree throughout the decades, but every once in a while, I guess someone in charge of a studio or someone in charge of a certain property will kind of rear their head and say, hey, we might want to use him for this, or he's such a popular character that we want to save him for this. Let's not incorporate him or his ilk into this. And actually, there's a couple of articles you could probably look up regarding this, whether or not it's a founded thing that persists through the decades, or whether it's just a weird occurrence that pops up every now and then. But there's a couple of articles, a couple of subreddits. And one thing I noticed is that actually this takes place pretty much back in Batman's early days, back in like the 30s and 40s. Can you imagine, can you kind of guess what that would be, Max, with regards to Batman in his early days? Where would they embargo him?
Where would they embargo him in his early days? I mean, like, wasn't he like packing 45s and just blasting people to death in those days?
Well, that's a different thing. That's like, that was when they were kind of like, well, maybe our heroes shouldn't be packing heat or snapping necks or whatever. But we're back around to those days again, apparently. So
yeah, wasn't that after? Was it before or after the movie?
This was around, let's see, the 40s actually, and with the comic book Justice Society of America. Because the Justice Society would have who was it? Hawkman, the Sandman. There's a couple. The original Flash, the one with the wings on his head and the saucer pan hat.
Yeah. Jay Garrick.
Jay Garrick. Oh yeah, that's right. He was on the Flash. Why am I forgetting his name? John Wesley Shipp when he was the Flash.
Yeah.
And other characters like Dr. Fate and so forth. So before the Justice League, there was Justice Society, and they'd all, convene and tackle crime or whatever was going on at the time. Slumlords, I guess, was the big thing back then. But apparently, Batman and Superman were honorary Justice Society members. But because they were in their own separate books, Detective Comics, Batman, Action Comics, Superman, and so forth, they didn't appear in the actual comics, but they would put them on the covers and say, like, they would be basically false promises saying, like, hey, Superman and Batman are here too. Nah, you just get everybody else.
And that is messed up. Like, again, how dare you? Like, that's not even fair. You're gonna put Batman on the cover, and all the kids are like, "Yes, finally! I read 18 Justice Societies already. Batman hasn't been in one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Throw him on the cover. Now you just can't wait to get that book open." and then like the whole time you're just waiting for Batman to show up, but he never does. That's like finding out Santa Claus doesn't exist.
And I spent my whole week's worth of soup rations on this.
You know? For goodness sake. There's a depression on.
Yeah. But who knows? Maybe somewhere in the background.
Oh no, it's the 40s. I'm sorry. There's a war on.
Yeah, maybe somewhere in the background there you had a young Stan Lee and Jack Kirby going like, "Oh, fuck this. No Batman, no Superman. You know what? We're going to make our own characters someday, yep. And then we're going to use them whenever we want. We're going to let them meet up with each other whenever we want them to."
I bet you that is exactly how it went down.
I'm sure Stan Lee at some point was saying, "Fuck these guys. Excelsior." Oh man, I've been wanting to do my Stan Lee impression with cursing. So rare an opportunity.
You know? That's why you gotta love these podcasts, man. They're just, opening up doors and windows. You can scratch stuff off your bucket list.
Man, that's a sad bucket list now that I think about it.
Whatever. Stan Lee cursing impression, check.
Then a couple years go by, we get into around the 50s and 60s, and it was basically kind of the same thing, but this time with Justice League. Now, Justice League, when it first came out, it had who are now considered to be some heavy hitters. They had Wonder Woman in it. They had the new Flash, Barry Allen in it. They had, he's a heavy hitter now. What the hell? Aquaman. They had Aquaman in it and Martian Manhunter. And that was like kind of the core group. But again, they would be like, yeah, Superman and Batman show up sometimes, but they're not like official, really honorary. They're only there for covers.
And how so terrible.
Yeah, how weird is it? Because we're going to be getting a Justice League movie, and for many decades now, we've associated this character with this team, and he wasn't even like an original member. Yeah.
Well, I do like that Batman isn't always a member of the Justice League. Like, I think that everyone else hates him, and I like that because he shouldn't be on the Justice League every time. He's the only one who can stop the Justice League.
Yeah, it makes sense for when story-wise when he kind of states like, yeah, I'm a part-timer, or no thanks, or yeah, you guys are out of control. This is horse shit.
Yeah,
and he refuses or declines. But at that time, when basically all superheroes were kind of the same person,
yes,
in the 60s, and they weren't quite as multifaceted as they are now, it was kind of weird to be like, hey, you two want to join our clubhouse? And we'll be like, nah, we're too important to join all the time. But we'll show up every once in a while to help out with like a lemonade sale or something.
Or, if there's a freaking dark side.
Yeah. Tell us when there's something big. You guys can deal with what's his name, Starro the Conqueror on your own. Send us a line when you got Darkseid on the phone or something. Yeah.
Sinestro ain't shit. Like
Sinestro ain't shit. That's my. We got to sell buttons next week with that.
Don't call me with your Sinestro bullshit. Like. Well, when something important happens.
It's funny you should bring up Sinestro, because something else I noticed was something of a loose, I guess, 70s, 80s embargo. And Sinestro at that time was part of the Super Friends or Challenge of the Super Friends with Legion of Doom. And you had Lex Luthor and Solomon Grundy and all those characters meeting in the swamp with the big thing.
The big helmet in the swamp.
Yeah. Well, apparently, it's kind of debatable what was allowed and what wasn't, since you did have Batman and Robin showing up in Scarecrow. But apparently they wanted to use Catwoman for the Legion of Doom, but instead they used the Cheetah, Wonder Woman's enemy, instead.
Yes.
But they're not sure if that's because, Catwoman's off limits.
I think I prefer Cheetah as a villain in that one anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have, like Batman, you said Batman and Robin popping in and out. So it's not really like they embargoed him on this one. I mean, that's kind of, yeah, I think Cheetah's the better villain for that one because I feel like Catwoman wouldn't care.
Right. And world conquering's kind of a little too big for her.
Right. Like she's a thief.
Yeah.
If they hired her on to like, they needed something and there's like, hey, we can call Catwoman, she'll get it. Like, that's fine, but yeah, I don't think she fits in there anyway. So, maybe a different Bat villain would have been better, but I think they made the right move with that one anyway.
Mm-hmm. So, all in all, probably not a big, deal or a big thing set in mind being like, they're out to get the Bat people or whatever. But just curious nonetheless. And then as we get closer to the stuff we're more familiar with, it becomes apparent there's definitely something going on with regards to movies, TV, comics, and keeping stuff separate. Because, well, first off, in like the 90s and stuff, Batman was big, Batmania. Everyone loved Keaton and Tim Burton stuff. But apparently, due to the movie success and everything like that, Batman really wasn't allowed to be incorporated into other properties that had their day in the sun during that time too. Like, couldn't show up on The Flash. Lois and Clark, apparently.
Oh, yeah?
Or that canceled Justice League of America TV pilot thing, which, good, because I don't want Batman anywhere near that.
Right.
You can have the Atom and whoever else was on that, but not Batman. But yeah, it was kind of weird. And when I was a little kid, I always kind of thought it would be cool to see Keaton's Batman show up just for a brief moment in The Flash. Because I remember liking the music to the Flash television series. I'm like, holy crap, that's Danny Elfman.
I don't remember that show being on TV. I completely missed that one.
I remember catching reruns of it and really enjoying it. I think it was like awesome. I did watch a lot of Lois and Clark growing up.
Yeah, I definitely saw the crap out of that show.
And definitely, you couldn't help but wonder if there was going to be a Bat appearance at some point.
Yeah, how awesome would that have been? That would have made the show 80 times better.
And it's weird, too, because Batman in the later movies, the Schumacher stuff, he could name drop Metropolis and Superman.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, at that time, they were thinking like, well, we're going to reboot Superman with Nick Cage's Superman. And that leads to John Schnepp's wonderful... the death
of Superman Lives.
Death of Superman Lives. What happened? Yeah, which you should check out. It's on his site right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Apparently, at some point in 3 Geeks, we will talk to him.
I guess that's still in the works. We're trying though
for about a year now.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that guy's busy, but
yeah, the dude's busy. But yeah, so there was this possibility, like. I'll admit, when I saw Batman Forever and I heard him mention Metropolis, I'm kind of like, oh, is this where we're going? Are we going to start expanding outwards a little bit more?
I mean, like it would have been a lot. I don't know. The Schumacher universe kind of needed to die. So I think that would have been the wrong vessel to bridge, to start the universe creation. But it still would have been cool, yeah, Keaton shows up in the Flash, and then you go ahead and get freaking what's that dude's name who played the Flash?
John Wesley Shipp.
Yeah, John Wesley Shipp. You get him in on the next Superman movie. Get him a good costume, get him in on the next movie. Spend some money. That would have been crazy.
Yeah.
If you would have saw them doing that, porting that stuff over, but they didn't know what they had yet. They didn't know about how crazy us comic book people are.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, it's like I could kind of buy it with Batman Forever at that point because, yeah, you're right. We didn't know how bad these movies could get.
Oh, man.
By the time Batman and Robin came around, I'm like, no, let's keep Superman away.
Maybe it's good. It's good. Just stay over there. Don't worry about what's going on over here.
But it's even stranger, though, because as they were developing Superman Lives or whatever it was going to be, they got all the way to costuming, essentially. And for a while, a couple of scripts had incorporated a Batman cameo. Like, he shows up at the funeral. Well, he doesn't show up at the funeral, but pops up on, like, a screen offering his condolences to the city, and then that's it.
I mean, that's cool, man. Like, these characters exist, and it's cool. you know, when they interact in you know, it's something that's plausible. So,
Mhm.
you know, again, like, you know, we were saying, it's good to have the people doing things that they would actually do. So, yeah, like, I'm definitely down for that. It would have been, I just, again, I feel like they didn't realize what they could have been doing because
Mhm.
they're doing it now. They're starting to see now that they can link it all up and have, you know, have this stuff work with that stuff. But yeah, like that would have been way ahead of their time. It would have been super awesome.
Yeah. Well, surprisingly, the place where they kind of loosened up a little bit more around this time was something we're very familiar with, and what you mentioned before as being one of your favorite interpretations of the character is in animation.
Yes.
Because in the original run of Batman the Animated Series, they had before the idea of a Justice League cartoon even came to anyone's mind, they had a couple of characters that weren't usually in Batman's circle, you know, be incorporated into some narratives. Can you think? Oh, Zatanna was one
Yeah. Yep.
because
Um,
she's been an established character at that point and not really heavily associated with Batman. I don't think up until then.
I mean, I think like in the comic books, if you know, like they definitely worked together a few times, but nothing, you know, like, you know, she's not like a reoccurring Gotham, you know, like hero. So yeah, I mean, like they're just superhero acquaintances, pretty much.
Yeah, and then there was I think there was an episode with what was I mean it's not I wouldn't officially call it a crossover because they never actually met, but Jonah Hex.
Yeah, yeah, I
Like
love that episode too. It's such a good one.
yeah, it incorporates into the mythos well. It makes sense because he's facing off against Ra's al
Great job,
Ghul,
Google.
who's
Yeah,
been around for centuries. So it makes sense he would cross paths with Jonah Hex, perhaps.
yep. Oh no, I was totally down. That's a great episode. I'm probably gonna watch that after this now.
What was it called? Showdown. That's what it was.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely checking it out. I love that. I love that episode. Jonah Hex is such a badass.
Hmm. But I mean, as we got into later stuff with say like Superman, then that's when we got Batman and Superman meeting up more regularly, and then that led into Justice League.
And I mean the Batman Superman animated movie that, you know, that was just like the 90-minute episode pretty much.
Hmm.
That thing was done, I thought, exceptionally well. And I'm just like, how did they get this cartoon right 20 years ago?
Yeah.
And they just fucked this movie up so hardcore.
If you want to hear our thoughts on that, it's on our episode 7 of the podcast, I believe. We talk about
Lucky number 7.
yeah, we talk about that movie or series of episodes. But I think what I liked about that too is that the incorporation, it didn't feel like, I mean, it was a cause to be like, oh, cool, they're meeting for the first time. But at the same time, the characters themselves felt like business as usual. I've heard about this Joker guy. Sounds pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, because, like, what does Superman care? You know, like, he's Superman. He hears about random, you know, like the Joker. Yeah, he hears like Batman has trouble with this guy's shirt, whatever. But he doesn't care. You know, like he doesn't know that the Joker will be on, you know, like what the Joker's capable of. And you know, in the same way, Batman's like, yeah, Lex Luthor. You know, I think he's doing some shady things, but I don't. You know, he doesn't know him like Superman knows him. But they still kind of just doing their thing, and then they like, oh, okay, you know, like, hey, I'm working here. You know, when they run into each other.
Yeah. And like I said, it paved the way for the Justice League show, which, you
Which
know,
was awesome.
which incorporated everyone else pretty much. But then
Yeah.
this,
And then, yeah, when they got to Justice League Unlimited, they were just like, let's go crazy.
yeah, like 50, 60 some characters at a time.
Yep.
But surprisingly, that's where an actual evidence of like a full on embargo kind of took hold a little bit. Because in the 2000s, that's when, you know, was the resurgence of not just superheroes in television, but also superheroes in movies. And at the time, we had something like Christopher Nolan's Batman series was starting to take bloom a little bit. But I feel there was a couple of weird stipulations. Well, since we were talking about Justice League, let's just go right into it.
Yep.
With Justice League, when they first went into it, I understood why they wouldn't focus so much on Bat-related problems, because Batman's problems, honestly, they could get solved pretty quick by the Justice League combining their forces. Like a Mad Hatter plot would be solved easily by the
Yeah,
Justice League.
yeah. I mean, like he's not gonna mind control them all, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. Batman's villains are his villains because he's just a guy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's pretty much the perfect human specimen, but he's still just one guy. So that's where they become interesting. If Superman has got to deal with the Mad Hatter, it's over.
Yeah. And I think the only villain they really tapped into during those first couple of seasons was the Joker, was Mark Hamill's Joker. And that was because, and he was more or less, when he wasn't working on his own and doing like, what was it, setting up bombs all over Las Vegas. But I mean, that works for Joker because he's
Right.
a big picture guy and he like can think big like that. But then when he wasn't doing that, he was teamed up with Lex and was it the Injustice? Was it the Injustice Gang or something?
Uh,
He showed up for like a couple of episodes to like help out a little bit, but he didn't really help out. He was just kind of there saying like, Batman's gonna figure a way out of this.
yeah.
But
I can't. Yeah, I don't even remember that. Oh man, now I gotta watch an episode of Batman animated series and the entirety of the Justice League.
so you got Jonah Hex on the to-do list, followed by Joker episodes.
Yeah, there's like a Wild West episode of the Justice League too, but it's got Jonah Hex in it, so I gotta watch that.
So yeah, for a while it was Batman was a part-timer, so he wouldn't even show up half the time probably. But after a while I think he became kind of a regular on the show. But that's when other stuff kind of got weird too, because then I guess it was decreed, since the movie was taking off and production was about to begin and everything like that for, I think, Batman Begins. There was kind of an edict from the studio saying you can still use Batman, but you can't use any of his supporting players or villains in speaking roles or in roles beyond just a brief cameo. So that's why in some episodes you'll see like maybe Two-Face in the background or Alfred in the background, but they don't say anything. They don't do anything. And it's pretty much just the Batman show and none of his supporting players really.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I kind of get it just because you're trying to. The Nolan Batman is very dark, and even though the movies were PG-13, they're handling more like adult kind of. They're handling it in more of an adult way, and it's more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
So they figure on the culture shock or whatever, and it's just like, oh no, they're gonna associate this more realistic Batman with the cartoon Batman, so we got to kind of do things to diverge them. But I think they went the wrong way with it, because bringing in Robin and doing all that stuff would be definitely the way to separate yourself from.
Well, it's funny you mention Robin because he ended up having his own show, Teen Titans. But
awesome on.
Yeah, for a while they really couldn't reference or make light of the fact that he was associated with Batman. Aside from, I think there was like a flashback scene I'm reading in one of these comments, like there was like a flashback scene that alluded to who's your real father or whatever, and then they show like bats swirling around Robin or whatever. He's like, I already have a father.
Yeah, and I think there's one. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of. No, that's Young Justice. Never mind. Now I'm getting my cartoons confused. Yeah, they don't mention it at at all. They make light of it a lot in Teen Titans Go, but they in the regular Teen Titans they didn't. Robin was just Robin, and
Mm-hmm.
they never mentioned why he's out there on his own.
Did they ever? I didn't watch it as much as something like Justice League. I've seen like an episode or two of it. Did they ever make reference as to which Robin he was?
He's Dick Grayson Robin.
He is Dick Grayson Robin. Okay.
Yes. I don't think they ever actually say it though.
Yeah, because I know you never really see him out of costume or anything like that. Like he's always suited up. So
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's Dick Grayson Robin.
okay.
Um,
Now here's one. I'm not familiar with this series really at all. I'm kind of wondering if you are, but the Batman.
I watched. Okay, no, the Batman. Is that the one that was kind of CG?
No, that was Beware the Batman, which can't
Okay,
the
like
Batman he
yeah,
had
the Batman. Yeah, I know which one.
it was weird anime style looking.
Yeah, it was the cheap anime style, and it was pretty bad because like the Joker is like a Rastafarian dude, like
Yeah, he's got like
dreads.
dreadlocks. Yeah,
It was just it was weird. I heard it got good towards the end. It's on Netflix. I was thinking about giving it a watch, but I can't ever bring myself to do it because I just heard like I watched a couple of episodes and it was really fucking bad. But yeah, again, like I heard it gets better as you go along. So we might actually give that one a go for the podcast.
have fresh eyes with it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that even that had its own embargo. A Batman show had a Bat Embargo, which is weird because I think it came out the same time as Batman Begins, and the two big villains in Batman Begins were Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow, and so apparently they were two villains that never appeared on the show, and I think it was due to them being used in the movie.
Yeah, that man. Ra's al Ghul is a tricky villain to use anyway, and I think he would have fit in this cartoon though, from what I've seen of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it does. It is a shame that it is just like again, they just feel like it's going to be too much, and they don't want people associating the one with the other.
Mm-hmm.
But to the detriment, at least this time, I think of the product. Yeah, the Scarecrow. I mean, yeah, and he's a really good villain too. It's and I think there's a lot you can do visually with the Scarecrow. Every time I see a different rendition of him, it's so very different from any other one I've seen that it's really cool. So I like I like the Scarecrow. It sucks. That's a crappy one. I think they made a bad move on that one. And again, all of this is just underestimating how much us nerds like really love all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. But it's kind of now that there's another comment here saying I don't think Two-Face either didn't show up in there either. But I think that was because at the time they were thinking they were going to be using him for a sequel.
Right.
Whereas it's like Joker, sure, you can't have a Batman product without Joker.
Right.
But let's save these other characters for big screen. And you notice that, getting back to kind of the Bruce Timm stuff too, you kind of notice that because for a while you'd have Aquaman show up in Justice League stuff, but then halfway through season 3 or something like that, he just disappears completely. And no reference is really made to him.
They were just like, yeah, he went swimming.
Yeah, because I think at the time they had seriously considered like we need to start up an Aquaman movie franchise.
Was that right around when freaking Entourage had their fake Aquaman movie?
I think that's what it was like. Entourage was going with that idea in the story, and that sparked actual discussions from studio heads to be like, why aren't we doing an Aquaman movie?
Because it's underwater.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what it looks like.
Cameron, underwater is expensive.
And I don't want my Aquaman. Like, Jason Momoa is fine as Aquaman. I don't want him looking like, what's his name? Vincent.
Yeah, I can deal with this new Aquaman. I'm digging I'm picking up what they're putting down over here. I'm excited for Jason Momoa Aquaman.
But getting back to kind of Justice League stuff, apparently this forced the team to kind of change up ideas they initially had for stories to incorporate other characters. Like, one of the things that started up with, especially with Justice League Unlimited, was they incorporated Huntress and the Question and a bunch of those type of characters into the team, which is weird because Huntress I thought was a Batman character, but I guess she stands on her own.
I thought she was a Gotham, one of the Gothamites as well. I really love the Question.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a badass hero, and I would love for like a Netflix Question show.
I think that would kind of be a cool series to see. I don't know how likely it's going to happen with Marvel kind of dominating over there, but I think it would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think a reimagining of the Question for nowadays, especially with all the security, yada 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 that we got going on, and all the 80,000 conspiracy theories anyway, like the Question would be ripe for freaking use right now.
Yeah. Well, apparently the reason he was kind of incorporated to begin with was because of the fact that they couldn't do an outright Birds of Prey episode or couple of episodes. Because you'd have Huntress, you'd have Black Canary, but they couldn't use
Oracle.
Barbara. Yeah, they couldn't use her as Oracle. But one of the ideas apparently that they had was there was this episode, I guess, where the whole premise was all the Justice League women were brainwashed into fighting in cage matches.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
It sounds bad when I kind of say it out loud, but I mean, it worked for a kid show, I guess.
Yep.
But I guess remember there was kind of a silent cameo of Nightwing on a building ledge. Like Huntress and Black Canary are driving into Bloodhaven, and they labeled it as Bloodhaven, and then you see him on the rooftop. He doesn't say anything. He's in shadow. You can't really tell it's actually him unless you're familiar with the character model.
Right.
But that was supposed to be kind of a nod because I guess the original intent was that at some point they were going to have Barbara Gordon show up as Batgirl. Something was going to happen that wouldn't cripple her, but it would injure her enough to the point that she was incapacitated and in a wheelchair.
Yeah, she like break her leg or something.
Yeah, and that she would be helping out Black Canary and Huntress behind the scenes as Oracle.
Right.
And that was going to be kind of their tribute to Birds of Prey.
That would have been too cool.
It would have been way better than the live-action Birds of Prey show that they did.
Yeah, good times.
Well, now that's one we'll have to watch. I've only seen the pilot, but based on the pilot, whoo!
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, wasn't that like one of those sort of like Charmed or something like that? Wasn't it?
It was on the WB around the time of Smallville and was trying to tap into that while also trying to be Charmed. Cool.
Yeah, let's not watch that.
Hey, speaking of Smallville.
Yeah, here we go.
So, well, originally, for those who may not know, before there was ever a Young Superman Before He's Superman show, they were kicking around the idea of doing a Bruce Wayne show. Like doing essentially kind of what they're doing in Gotham right now. Is young Bruce Wayne, will follow him after the tragedy and see what journeys he goes on and steps he takes to becoming eventually Batman.
Yeah, we'll follow him through the Jesus years.
Yeah, essentially. It's like, yeah, where did he go during all this time? But then at the time, they were like, we don't know if this will really fly as a TV show concept. So then they moved it over to Superman. And also at that time, they're like, you know what? This would probably work better as a movie. And that's where the Nolan stuff sort of took root. But with Smallville, apparently this is heavy into like rumor mill, but I could see what they would have probably done with this. Around the third season, they had introduced this character into the show, played by Ian Somerhalder. He was on Lost, and he plays the one of the cute vampire boys on Vampire Diaries.
Okay.
But he was a guest star during the show's third season, and he was playing this guy that Lana met in a hospital rehabilitation center, and his character's name was Adam Knight, Knight. Now, what eventually became of that character is it's kind of weird. He ended up becoming. It was revealed he was actually a guy brought back to life by Clark's Superblood, and he was stalking him or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. Lex Luthor was into some weird shit. Yeah. But apparently a lot of people were speculating, and because he was well-versed in martial arts, knew a lot about surveillance and kind of detection.
Right.
and would kind of pop up silently here and there in like dark corners and places. Ninja-esque, if you will. League of Shadows, almost, if you will. There was a lot of people speculating that, is this Smallville Batman? Is this Bruce Wayne coming to town to see what's up?
If they would have left it open, that would have been awesome.
Yeah,
that would have been, and I would have like given Smallville credit for doing something really cool, but of course they didn't.
No, yeah, he ended up trying to shoot Lana and dying because he was rotting or something.
Yeah, that's dope.
I'm kind of glad that didn't work out the way.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, Adam Knight, like, yeah, that's great.
That's pretty blatant, and he's always talking about losing his family, but at first he says they died in a fire, but then it's hinted that that's not really what happened, that he lost his family some other way.
Right.
So.
Oh, dude, no, that's totally cool. And then they ruined it.
Yeah.
What a bunch of jerks.
Well, I feel that was due. I wholeheartedly feel like that's what the creators wanted to do. Like you were saying, because Smallville in the early days, despite its Dawson's Creek teen drama stuff going on, it was subtle, at least. Like it was still WB trying to be kind of like Buffy, but also trying to be Dawson's Creek-ish. But at least it was kind of a little bit more subtle than what it became in later seasons, where it's like, just throw Cyborg in there, whatever.
Dude, okay, freaking Smallville, Kansas is the center of the freaking universe.
Yeah.
Green Arrow, The Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman all show up in Smallville, Kansas.
Well, it's funny you should mention Green Arrow, because he'll factor in a little bit later too, but because of the fact that they couldn't use Batman by the time Green Arrow showed up on the show, because Nolan's Batman was in full swing, and we're like, well, we can't touch that character now. They were like, who else can we use? Oh, let's use Green Arrow. What do we do with him? Oh, let's just make him like Batman, except he's Green Arrow.
Man.
So that's why in the last couple of seasons, Green Arrow was very prominent, because it's like, well, if we can't have Batman, well, we might as well use the other guy who's not a super powered person.
That would have been cool if they went Nightwing or Robin, dude.
Like Nightwing or Robin without Batman, huh?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like instead of Green Arrow, they go Nightwing.
That would be kind of interesting. And every once in a while, just references like, yeah, I got to report to my boss.
Or not, it's like, because he's trying to do his own thing, so like he doesn't, like that's not what he's broadcasting.
Oh, okay.
So or whatever, but like you could touch on it in the beginning, just be like, nah, I'm doing this now, like let's not talk about it because it's a touchy subject. And then move on from there.
Oh yeah, that would have worked actually. Yeah, well, because there was talk for a while that they were going to do like a Grayson series.
I'm down. I'm so down.
But not the kind we would have liked, where he's like kick-ass adult Grayson, but like he was little kid Grayson and traveling with his folks in the circus or something. I think that was the pitch. Circus shit.
I'm good. No.
Nah, I'm good with that. But as we know, Green Arrow went on to do his own thing in Arrow. Not associated with the previous incarnation of Green Arrow, but it's kind of weird too, because now it's like almost reverse Bat Embargo, because in Arrow you can full on use Ra's al Ghul apparently.
Yeah,
and what's that?
And the League of Shadows.
And the League of Shadows, yeah, and they're just full on Oliver Queen's enemy now.
Yeah. No
mention of any Bruce Wayne kid.
Oh, dude, no, it's. They just ripped off all these Batman stories. Like they totally jacked Batman and threw him into Arrow, and it lightweight makes me mad. Like I'd rather see the Batman show. If you're gonna make a Batman show, why don't you just make it a Batman show?
Well, we do have a Batman show, Max. It's called Gotham.
I mean, oh my god, oh no.
There you go.
This show's so terrible. We're gonna try to keep it positive, but Gotham is horrible. But like they seriously do just rip off major Batman plot lines, and I guess it wouldn't be so bad, except now that they're getting a little looser. You know, they're like, hey, now we can have these different characters in here. You've ripped off all the Batman plot lines. So what's Batman supposed to do?
In a world where we're going to have Henry Cavill as Superman in the movies, but then all of a sudden, hey, Supergirl's going to have a Superman too. It's like, why not introduce another TV Batman right now? Even though we've got little kid Bruce Wayne, that's still not Batman necessarily. No. You can still have a grown-up adult Batman working, opposite Oliver Queen every once in a while.
Yeah, dude. I mean, oh my goodness. If they put Batman on the Flash, dude, it is over. It is over. They would break television.
They do their best to kind of just slide in some Easter eggs here and there. Like I remember when Barry went to Earth 2 and he saw on his counterpart's telephone, like they have everyone on speed dial, like Clark, Diana, Bruce. I can't remember who else, but those are the big ones.
And like that was cool. I'm just saying, like, let's do it. Just let's just do it. Why not? Now is the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, who knows? Maybe I know some people are kind of hoping that season 2 of Legends of Tomorrow, since it's a time traveling show, that they're kind of hoping that we get flung into a far future and we see some Terry McGinnis.
That would be cool. I'm 100% down for that too.
I would tune back into that show if we got some Terry McGinnis, some live action Terry.
That show, I can't deal with it. I'm not a fan, but I would definitely watch those episodes.
But again, this is all speculation, and I feel no one has. At times, Bruce Timm and other people on that creative team have alluded to the fact that like there have been certain mandates passed down throughout the years whenever new movie projects crop up that we can't use this or that. Like even the Smallville people on some commentaries for episodes have mentioned like, oh yeah, there was a point we couldn't show Clark's Kryptonian parents full on because there was a movie in development and they didn't want our vision to contradict what was going on in the movie.
Dude, how awesome would it have been if they took Terry McGinnis and put him in, like, if he was just one of the characters in Legends of Tomorrow?
Just kind of there and everyone doesn't question it. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, like, because, I mean, like, he's from time. Like, if he's gathering all these people up throughout time, they could have just done it, dude. They could have just done it.
Ooh, we should do it.
Awesome.
We should do it. Let's script that shit.
Yeah. That's great. I thought, okay, Rip Hunter, Terry McGinnis, Booster Gold. Who else did you get in there?
Wave Rider is an actual character as opposed to a ship.
Yes.
Who else is a time traveler? Someone from the Legion, I'm guessing. Because they got the time travel rings.
Right, yeah, that's true. And Jonah Hex.
Yeah, the ultimate, and he has to be played by what's his name, Adam Baldwin. He has to be played by Jane.
Oh yeah, I'm down. I'm totally down.
So what we're asking for really is a time travel version of Firefly. Can you give us that?
Yeah, with Terry McGinnis Batman.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a solid argument no matter what. But Terry McGinnis Batman? Yes, absolutely.
It's just so surreal because this could actually be a possibility for a show these days. Like, it seems like sky's the limit right now with regards to what you're going to put on TV, what characters you can combine, and what characters get their own feature. Like, a lot of announcements coming through. Like, they're going to have Ghost Rider on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. next season, apparently.
Oh, God.
Now, here's the whole deal. I'm not saying all of these ideas are jewels. It's just kind of it's a fun world where the possibility is exciting enough. Whether or not they can pull it off is another thing. And maybe that was kind of the thing with a lot of these embargoes was they're like, yeah, sounds like a fun idea and everything would be cool for us as fans, but would it work for the movie or for the show? Would it work to make the product better?
And I mean, like right now with the, we're seeing more of a blending and they're throwing a lot of different stuff at different mediums. They just didn't, like TV hadn't figured itself out yet, and so they were, they weren't sure what you could put on there. And like the movies, like the game has changed very much. So now that again, they're just not sure about what they can do. And again, like what you're saying, like they don't know if they can pull it off. They needed to sack up and just fucking do it because they're missing out. But it's just they weren't aware of the medium and the power that they had.
Yeah,
the freedom that they had even.
Well, and it's ironic because their neighbor across the street, Marvel, has shown them what freedom they're capable of. With this whole idea of cross promotion, sharing universe, and everything like that, from TV to silver screen, that it can all work together as one thing in some way, shape, or form.
Oh yeah, and then Marvel did it right. They built it from the ground up. They did it one piece at a time, and that was the right way to do it. And so far they're the only ones to do it the correct way.
And it's kind of funny too, because Marvel has way more legal issues with some of its characters than DC. DC owns all of those characters,
right?
With certain, they have to just say like Superman created by, what was it, Joe Shuster, with permission from the Siegel family. Now, like there was that huge like litigation thing, and Bob Kane and Bill Finger now it's known as, but still Warner Brothers holds the keys to all of those cars, and
it's like Marvel's sitting here playing. They're in a boxing match with one hand tied to one foot. And they're still winning, to explain that.
Okay, so which is Sony and which is Fox, the hand or the foot?
No, I'm saying like Marvel has got Marvel's hand tied to Marvel's foot, and they're still beating the crap out of Sony and Warner Brothers at the same time. They're like doing some crazy ninja kung fu Batman shit. Except they're Marvel.
Yeah. Except they're well, even now they're like reaching out, like the fact that you got a Spider-Man and a Captain America movie, the olive branches out there, and the fact that Marvel and was it FX are co-producing an X-Men, not an X-Men show, but a show about an X-Men character, Legion.
Yeah.
They're catching up to that. They're gonna be like, soon we'll have the keys to everybody, either through partnerships or, the rights will expire and we'll take the rights back and do something with it.
And God help the other companies when that happens, because if the floodgates are open, then what are they gonna do? What's DC and Warner Brothers gonna do when Marvel gets X-Men and Fantastic Four back? Like what? They need to figure their shit out, because
I can see it all now. They'll be like, okay, double down on the embargoes then.
Yes.
We're gonna have what's a really obscure character?
Plastic Man.
We're gonna have a Plastic Man embargo.
The elongated man.
All the stretchy guy embargo.
Stretchy superheroes embargo. Yeah, dude, no, it's ridiculous. And to even think of not using any character at any time is absurd.
Yeah. But
so any embargo you're doing is probably the wrong idea.
I guess
the one that I agreed with earlier.
I guess we're really fortunate now that, we're witnessing a lot of stuff that we only kind of dreamed of happening in a motion picture or in a cartoon or in some other form outside of the comic page actually taking shape now for us. And, back in those hard, dark ages where our Flash would be on TV and our Batman would only be in the movies, and our Superman was in a weird romantic comedy with Terry Hatcher.
Yeah. Did she know how to spell on that one? I always thought.
Yeah, she knew how to spell.
Okay.
Oh, I like Terry Hatcher as Lois Lane
yeah.
way more than Margot Kidder.
You're a journalist, like that's
not only
your
that,
job. That was always so dumb that they made her not be able to spell. Like,
like Terry Hatcher, at least her Lois Lane was. Now we're getting into Lois and Clark, but she was portrayed as smart and sensitive when she needed to be, but at the same time she could be abrasive, and you could get that even though Clark was like fed up with her shit sometimes, he could come to like her or love her even. Margot Kidder in that first Superman, there are times she's okay, but then there are other times where I'm like, I don't buy for a second this dude's turning the world back in time for her.
Save you, yeah.
I can't buy that. Sorry, Christopher Reeve. You're a great actor, but I can't buy that you're invested in saving this woman. But anyways, that's another character and his assorted problems. But not right now because he's dead and mopey as hell.
Yes.
But bring on more. Well, I guess what we're saying, big studios, is bring on more Batman, which you seem to be doing. Bring on more Batman working with other DC characters, which hopefully Justice League and all these other products can do well. For God's sake, give us Time Traveler Hero show with Terry McGinnis and all those other awesome time traveling heroes we mentioned instead of Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, just reboot it. They flashpoint it so we can just take this opportunity to make it good.
That is true. Grant Gustin fucked up everybody's lineup.
Yep. They did it. They pulled the trigger on that one. That means, again, floodgates are open. You can fix all of these problems.
I'm really curious how they're going to approach that in Legends and in Arrow. If it's going to be addressed at all, if Arrow is going to suddenly just be reset because of what happened.
You can make DC great again.
Oh, dude, you have to take it to that place. You have to take it to the political table. I'm okay. I'm okay over here. You're on your own, buddy. So that's kind of our thoughts and a little bit, I guess, of information or rumors that have circulated around the Bat Embargo. And hopefully we see less and less embargoes and more of integration.
It's all about, that's what these times are about today. Everybody getting along. So that means bring everybody in. We need to see Power Girl. We need to see Batman. We need to see Black Lightning and Hawkman and Shazam and all of them. We need to see everybody working together because we're all in it together.
Well, it looks like we'll have our chance definitely with, I guess The Rock's always interested in a Black Adam project and things like that. So we'll get our chance. But you brought up a character. I'm really curious here. It's a weird question to kind of wrap up on, especially on a Batman podcast, and especially since we've been talking about a lot of Bat stuff. But really quick, who would you cast as a live action Black Lightning?
Ooh. Oh no, he's already sucked. He's already playing Baron Mordo. Chiwetel Ejiofor.
He could be in two things.
Huh?
He could be in two things, I think.
Oh, that's who I would cast.
Yeah, I could see that definitely. I would have said if it was a couple of years ago when he was younger, LeVar Burton.
Oh man, would have killed it.
Yeah, if it was like '90s Black Lightning. Yeah, that would have been my shit right there.
Totally down. LeVar Burton gets cut.
That's nice.
Butterflies in the sky like zap somebody.
Today, kids, the book is. Oh man, and he keeps the visor too. He has to keep his Geordie visor. But now it's like Cyclops and it shoots lightning out of it.
Yeah, dude, I'm down. That would have worked in the 90s.
So anyways, look forward to our Black Lightning podcast series coming soon.
Yeah.
But for now, you've been listening to The Chat Cave here on McGTV, youtube.com/MikeMcGTV. Again, check out Max regularly over at the Three Geeks podcast. That's youtube.com/Three Geeks Network. We're going to be having an episode tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know with all the preparation and stuff that you guys are doing if we were going to cut out.
Nope. We'll be on tomorrow. Domo Batman's going to be on there.
Oh yeah, that's right. Speaking of Batman,
8 or 15.
Nice. And is he going to be in costume?
Yes.
Oh, great. So check out that podcast. Domo Batman is this cat we met at Wizard World, the last Wizard World we were all at together. And he's kind of a cool guy. He's got a YouTube too as well, right? Arc Matter, I believe, is his YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I think that is him, though.
All right. I'll post it in the links below. So check him out as well. I think he does like a lot of stuff with regards to like gaming and things like that. But his Domo Batman outfit is tight. So speaking of Wizard World, might as well throw this out here. We're all going to be together again at Wizard World this coming weekend, July 29th through the 31st in Columbus at the convention center, correct?
Yep.
Yep. So we'll have the Three Geeks booth set up there. I'll probably be doing some free artwork to give away. And we have a couple of panels. Friday, we have a panel at 5 o'clock. And Sunday, I believe our panel is 2:30.
Something like that. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. And it's subject to change.
Subject to change, of course, yeah. But just keep following both of our channels and I guess both of our Twitter feeds too, at Mike McG TV and at 3 Geeks Network or 3 Geeks Podcast.
Yeah, 3 Geeks Podcast.
Yeah, is the Twitter handle. 3 Geeks Network is the YouTube. Yeah. So I'm sure we'll be giving updates as to the events of the weekend and who hopefully we can score for interviews. Some fun skits are planned. I think Max and I are going to try to do To the Chat Cave live at the Comic-Con floor, live at the Wizard World floor.
Yep. I hope we'll save it for then, but definitely going to happen. I feel like we're going to have some good times over there at the convention.
All right. So check that stuff out as it arrives, or if you're in the area, come check us out. Say hi. And as always, I'm Mike.
Max.
And thank you for listening to The Chat Cave. Have a good night.
Old chum.